Alright, so this is a brand new um, tutorial. This tutorial is about the balancing ball. So I have here this animation and I'm going to play it. I have it lit and rendered and some shaders going on, blah blah blah, just to make it look presentable, right? So I'm gonna play it now. This is the QuickTime uh, player. I prefer QuickTime player. That's just me. Okay, so I'm gonna play it again. And I'll play it one more time. Alright, so that's everything. I'm gonna close that out. And then here's the scene. I have over here specific keynotes. Right, it looks like a lot of stuff going on, but it's crazy how just the thinking process that goes on just for a bouncing ball, right? All these notes just for a bouncing ball. Anyway, but it looks more what's the word I'm looking for? It looks more challenging and more complicated than it is, right? I mean, as long as I go step by step and show and try to explain as best as I can, hopefully it won't be as daunting to look at or as daunting to do. All right. Anyhow, this ball rig, right, is on the classroom folder W drive. It's located. This ball rig is also free for public use. I'm not gonna say what company, right, but it is free for public use. Yeah. Anyway, so what I'm gonna do here, right, is kind of explain things. So for those of you who are brand new to animating in a 3D program package software, very different from 2D animation. Very, very, very different. Some similarities, but a lot of differences, especially with having to know and learn and apply the graph editor, which I'm going to show soon enough. So let's just discuss about this for a bit. Let me hide the grid. It's annoying to look at. I'm going to also turn on the multi-sample anti-alias to make it nice and crisp. Right. Background, I have my cylindrical backdrop that I use for the overall lighting and rendering. Right, I'm just going to leave it here. I have the backdrop set as a display layer and set to reference so I can't grab it, right? And again, the massive cylindrical wall is also on the W drive for you to use. This version of the massive cylindrical wall, right, it's different from the previous one. You have to forgive me, I have to go kind of off track for a moment, but basically, get out of my way. I made a new shader for it. Previously, before, it was attached to the default shader, right? But now I made specifically a new shader just because I want the specular down to 0, because chances are there's going to be students who will forget to drop this down to 0. And I also lowered the color from a brighter gray to a darker gray. So that's what that is. Yeah. And this newer wall will come with this shader, and I'm gonna replace the old one on the classroom folder. And also the ball rig will also be available on the W drive. It will also come with the shader, and I made this little texture image with the logo, blah 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 blah. Anyhow, so that's everything. So that was 45 minutes. Jeez, man. And then, okay, let's discuss. So many of you, this will probably be your first introduction to a rig, right? This is a rig. These are its controllers, right? Think of it as a puppet. Yeah, 3D puppet, where you'll be animating it by using these controllers. Just like how a puppeteer animates their, has their performance using their puppets by either pulling on strings, that's real-time puppeteer performance, right? Then there's your stop motion animation where they have the armature, and they bend and pose the character. Well, in 3D, it's kind of sort of, you could say, comparable. So let's discuss a little bit more. These things are made out of NURBS curves, right? NURBS curves. And so over here, the controllers that you'll be using, first of all, is the ball control, COG. COG stands for center of gravity. Center of gravity. Ball control, center of gravity. That is this one. See, I'll grab it again. You see this guy right here? That is the COG. If I carefully, you click on it. You can click on it, or you could just do a small marquee box and select like that. Do not do things like this, right? Don't do things like this, right? Because you will end up selecting another controller as well. So it's like that. I have to warn the class where selecting the controllers, you have to be mindful of what you are selecting, just click once like that, click once like that, click once like that, or like that, right? Or down here, because you don't want to just do things like this or like that. You just don't want to do that. There are times where you do want to select all of it, which I'm going to discuss during the animation process. So this right here again is your COG, right? If I crack this open, crack that open right here, and crack that open, ball control COG. Whatever you do, do not mess around in here. I repeat, do not mess around in here. If you break it and you ruin your animation, that's your fault. Do not mess around in here at all. Right. So again, this is COG. The center of gravity is used as the main driving force. So when I move the ball forward and up and down, left and right, it's mainly done through the ball COG, which is here. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And then after that, there's your spin all, right? This is your spin all. The spin all it does is to rotate the ball. So for example, and I'm gonna scrub, right? You see how the ball is rotating, right? You see the rotation, meaning that, right? That's done via the spin all. Okay. And you will notice that I only animate the rotate Z. The rotate Z is basically this. See how it's changing the number, the numerical value. That is in that specific axis. Okay. Do not animate in these other axes, right? Only way you end up animating are in these other axes is if you like just again select it like that. If you just kind of I don't know how to simulate. Yeah, you see how I kind of rotated by accident? That's the only way you end up accidentally rotating in different axes. You have to carefully select it, and be aware of the rotational arc. Right? If you do things like this, if you have things like this happening, it's already game over. You screwed up. Do not do this. Like I said before, you have to go in and grab the specific axes. Right? So that's your spin all. Your top squash. Top squash. Okay, but just in case again, I just want to remind you, this is your spin all. This guy right here. See this light teal colored controller? That is the spin all, right? You only rotate. Only rotate. Do not move. I repeat, do not move up and down, left and right. Do not do that. If you do that, you're just asking for more headache. Just don't do it. Right? Okay, so let me go back to what I was talking about. Top squash, right? This here, this light lime green colored little circle, that is your top squash. This is that. Pretty neato. Right. With the top squash as well, do not do things like this. Right? Only up and down, up and down. Okay, I repeat, do not do things like this. Do not do things like this. Do not do things like that, like rotating, right? Just don't do it. If you add more animation in different, areas of movement, right? You're just asking for more work and more things to break when you animate. Break meaning like poses that just go out of whack, movement that just goes out of whack. That's what I mean by that you're just gonna break the animation. So only push, squash, or stretch. That's all you do. Okay, so that's your top squash. Then there's your bottom squash, the other lime green colored, right? This is your bottom squash. Same thing like the top squash. You do not move left to right, because look what it does. You do not rotate, right? Just don't do it. I don't remember, I'm not sure in my older tutorials for the bouncing ball exercises, and I don't know if I moved it left or right. I'm not too sure. So but in this newer tutorial, just don't do it. Alright, next is your spin spin ball. So previously I talked about the spin all. Now there's a spin ball. So this will confuse you, right? This here, let me show here front. And this is the spin ball. Spin ball, spin ball. Right, again, it is the yellow one, right? That's your spin ball. Where what it does is it spins the ball. Right? Again, it's this one right here. Spins the ball. I wrote here a side note, right, to make a display layer for your for this specific controller, the spin ball, which is again this guy right here. And then make a display layer for it and hide it. Reason why is that in this specific new tutorial, I am not going to use it. I am not going to use it. There's a reason why for it. I don't want to talk about it because I'm going to get tired and it's just rambling on. So yeah, I'm going to grab it, the spin ball, right, this guy right here. Select it, in here, click it. Right, now it's on the layer. Double click it, underscore, spin, ball, controller, save it, set it to reference R, uncheck V as in Victor, so it goes away, right? That's what that was. So I put a little notation here for the spin ball. For the older tutorials, I do use this controller, right? I do use this controller. Right? Whoa, whoa, whoa. Huh. Interesting. Okay. So for the older controllers, I do use it. I mean, the older tutorials, I have used it, right? But not in this newer tutorial, right? But not in this newer one. Right? And that's why in this newer one, I am hiding it. Because I don't want to confuse students with the spin all versus the spin ball. Just even me saying it is really sounding confusing and annoying at the same time, right? So I'm going to hide it. You will only be rotating with the spin all. Spin all. Right, so hopefully that communicates well, right? I hope. Anyway, so and that's it. And this here is your move all controller, right? This is your move all controller. We will not be animating with this. That's why I did not put it here. This is not part of the controllers being used. I am not gonna animate that. This move all, again, which is the purple one, that's mainly, it grabs everything, right? You see how I grabbed all of it? It's mainly to kind of position it wherever you want it to be, you know? Let's say if you want it to be on top of a cliff, way up here. So you grab the move all and you put it on top of the cliff. And once you put it on top of the cliff, then you grab the ball control, COG, center of gravity, and you animate with that. Ba, 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 right? So this, I don't animate it. Right, so that's everything. That's already 18 minutes. Yeah. Okay, I think that's everything, right? Make sure that. Oh, let me also talk about this down here. Down here, ball geo. That means the ball geometry mesh. It's on its own display layer, right? And it's set to reference, so I cannot grab the mesh. I can hide the mesh, but I cannot grab the mesh. Okay. This here is your ball controls. Okay. Yeah. When you do use the this ball rig, right? In my previous older tutorials for the bouncing ball, I mentioned to import the ball in, right? But this time around, we're not gonna do that. We're just gonna straight up open the ball rig, and then you're just gonna import your the massive cylindrical wall. Yeah, that's what you're gonna do. So there are differences between my older tutorials and my newer ones, right? Okay, so I think I'm gonna end it like that. Maybe I should also remind this too. Do not be in component mode, right? Right. This is component mode, where you see how it's changes color to a light colored teal for everything. That's your component mode. If whatever reason this happens, make sure you go back to object mode. Everything has to be in object mode, right? Never in component mode. And never ever skirt around in here. Leave this alone. Okay. Yeah. So your job right now is to just, you know, grab the spin ball, right? This guy right here, and make your own, make a display layer for it, and dump it in there and hide it. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so I think that's everything for now. Next tutorial, I'm gonna go over setting up the preferences for the animation, and I think that's it. And also to set up the graph editor, to dock it somewhere here. Yeah, and that's the end of that tutorial. Okay, bye.